Aloha. I wanted to make a quick video in reference to something that's new to me. Thank you to the commenter, or if you're subscribed, I don't know, Helicopters. I think it was Helicopters. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. But for sending me this link to the to this video. I would recommend watching this video. There are no forests on flat earth. Wake up. I think Globebusters, as I searched for this video, I think Globebusters also mirrored this video, and so it's out there, but it was new to me. I guess it was just posted 3 days ago, so I decided to do sort of this kind of, I guess, mirror of it, and highly recommend watch this video. I just watched the whole thing. Very crucial in relation to flat earth. At the same time, I wanted to give like what I thought about it as I'm sharing it with people. So because this hits on some very important things that I had been thinking about for a while. I had questions about volcanoes. I had questions about mountains and the general structure of the so-called flat earth. And I had always been thinking about like petrified wood. I wanted to know what that was and why that particular wood, what happened to that wood, and why isn't there petrified wood all over the place? And I always had questions about the geometry, because I started out my journey basically in sacred geometry. That was my connection to realizing that there is a creative intelligence out here and within us and within nature, and there's a connection with the geometry within our bodies, our soul, our genetics, that is a mirror image of the geometry of nature, that within nature, when you see spirals in nature, when you see the hexagonal structures in nature, there's something there in that relationship. Honeycombs, and knowing that scientists and archaeologists and all those people are full of shit. Now that we know that everything, basically the vast majority of the biggest stories that are pumped out by that system are meant to separate you from a deeper storyline and keep you in the shallow version of understanding your reality. We are faced with the task and the responsibility to truly start to question our reality and empower ourselves to go deeper into understandings based upon our own questions and our own discernment and our own our trust within ourselves, pretty much, and stop leaning on the so-called powers that be in the system itself, but to really just to ask questions about it. And outside of these books, just by observation, we can learn a lot just by like a childlike curiosity and observation of your reality, which is shut out systematically by the grid, which is why people get so angry when you present an idea that goes counter to the mainstream scientism idea of our reality. People call you crazy, they call you silly, they call you whatever kind of words. It's basically their responses are actually childish, like elementary school. Like the same thing that happens in elementary school. It's like, psh, huh, you're just, something's wrong with you. You're just a weirdo. That's basically what it is. It's the I know you are, but what am I? Response. That's basically what Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's what they resort to. That's what that whole drop in the mic thing is. When you challenge, what if, just what if your total foundation is garbage, is just nonsense? Just what if? And a lot of them have already gone that far, especially the ones who are the actors, the Bill Nyes and the Neil deGrasse Tyson. So they can't challenge their reality because their reality is everything that makes their illusion real. They are the magicians. It's just like a magician never shows its secrets, or shows how you do the magic. They will cease to be magicians if all the magic was out there. So this magic that is pumped out through the university system, through the control grid, that goes all the way down to your soul, your genetic codes, your connections with nature, is an actual magic, and these magicians have to separate you from the deepest storylines. And this storyline that I just that somebody shared with me, that is part of the flat earth, that is part of nature, that is part of our soul journey, is basically how I was seeing it, is that transhumanism is being pawned off as the next so-called evolutionary step of the human to merge human with technology. It is total separation. It is a backward step in organic evolution, and is counterproductive to experiencing consciousness as a whole. It is another solidification of your reality into the physical reality and to an empowerment of the grid, giving your power away to material existence. That layer is being bought from a large majority of people as like going from 56K modem to cable internet. That's how people are being sold the university system. Just like NASA goes from going to the moon to going to Mars. Just like CERN is trying to sell, opening black holes and all these, portals and aliens. They're gonna shift all this stuff in to the storyline in order to distract you even more from what's going on here. And how I'm seeing it now, even more formalized, because I saw it was like, it's kind of like explaining poetry. Like, you can't really explain it like natural poetry, like art. It just exists as it is. But the more information that you get, you can be more poetic. You can get more closer to explaining, how something feels, how an interaction was, how an experience is. You can go into vast details with art and imagination, and the fluidity of colors as opposed to the structure of just like math and what they call hard science. That's what the university system is based upon. It's a limitation. There's no actual math in the universe. There's spirals. It's not like numbers as far as numbers are concerned. There's a math there. There's a geometry that's you can calibrate to nature for observation purpose, but that's still a shallow version of connection and understanding that goes far deeper into a space beyond language, a space beyond the university system as a whole, anything that we can even contemplate from here. It exists in a higher sort of language is what I'm really getting at. And that higher language is basically your true connection to spirit. And how I'm seeing our reality in this earth plane is that we are being sold like analog television. We are being sold like 4 channels of our reality on the old television, being told that that is progress, that's innovation, that is the future, that is, and you can sprinkle in every sort of technological, the smartphone. And this is why they have to call this stuff all smartphones, smart technology, smart this, smart that. To get, that's a magic spell to get you locked into an understanding and a misunderstanding, a vesting of your energy into the program as a whole. We are being sold so many layers from our maximum potential that we just kind of rationalize as whatever based upon what the control grid has set up itself to be, and say it doesn't understand. So the university system has no answers for the pyramids in Giza, no answers for Teotihuacan, no answers for Machu Picchu, no answers for the energies that you feel when you walk through the forest, when you walk through nature, when you walk through energy points on the planet. They have no answers for this, yet they engage obelisks and arches. They have no answers for this, but they secretly understand this information and use it against you when they put these obelisks, artificial obelisks in DC, the Washington Monument, when they place an Egyptian obelisk in Central Park in New York. This is energy that's being manipulated. And the way that I have observed those connections is in the past being like yesterday, in reference to the information from that video I just watched. I always knew that there was some kind of communication that happens through trees, through nature, through the pyramids, through these obelisks that they put around, through the ley line connections, the ley line energy points, Mount Shasta, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat. There's a spot in Australia. All these places all over the world where you can feel a certain type of energy, and the so-called masters of the known universe, the professors and the astrophysicists and the quantum physicists and all these science gurus, priests, they're scientism priests basically in the religion of scientism. They have no answers for this stuff. But they want to convince you that they have a great, divine understanding of our universe, from the Big Bang and the evolution theory and all the way up until technology, into transhumanism today. They want you to believe in them. Believe in transhumanism. You got to get that microchip and stick it inside your body. Get that smartphone and put it right up against your face. Put that antenna right up against your brain. Almighty, tie into that technology. That's basically what this is. That's what commercials are. That's what all these fancy ass these Apple commercials. That's a straight up like go to church. That's what the Apple store is. That's a cathedral. That's a straight up cathedral for the religion of scientism and technology. And it is the opposite version. It is the parasitic version of the human experience. It's a separation grid. When you look at and when you watch that video, you'll see them cutting down these trees all over the place. And just destroying nature, just destroying our connections. And to see, like, I've always understood trees as being antennas, giant antennas. Same goes with mountains. There's some kind of frequency, there's some kind of vibration that you feel when you climb the top of a mountain, when you're close to nature, when you're next to a tree, when you sit inside of a tree. When you are in that space, there's something there. There's something you feel when a giant, however many year old tree gets cut down right in front of your face. There's something that you feel. There's a missing space that happens. There's a gap in your reality when you witness this stuff and are aware that it's going on. And it's happening every day in the Amazon. This is why the peoples are there's a lot of indigenous people prefer that reality, because there's something there. There's a deeper humanity that's there that we have separated ourselves from, that has been called savagery. And in order to do what they do, they have to tell these stories to you. So this is a picture of the avatar tree of souls, which is the first thing that came to mind when I started watching that video, was the tree of souls and what that is. And in relation to this being like a living flat earth, being a living being, and the antennas and everything that pops through, that is birthed out of this living being, has a purpose, has a communication, has a balance to everything. Everything is connected. And these trees are one version of that connection that we are consciously connected to, and consciously and subconsciously being distracted from and separated from. Our etheric spiritual connections to those vibrations are being severed. And they can't sever, the so-called they, yes they, cannot never sever your true connections to spirit, your true connections to nature. You are that space. You are a living expression of that body, that living body. So the only thing that can be done is to distract you, trick you into disconnecting yourself from it by vesting your energy into an artificial intelligence, an artificial experience. And you separate yourself. So one layer of separation is to tell you, oh, well, slaves built the pyramids and the pyramids were just tombs. That's it. They were just tombs. And that's the only thing that you guys were just slaves. Watch Roots and vote for the next president. Vote for Hillary. Have a nice day. Thanks for engaging in your reality. That's the most generic ass version of your reality ever. And the Egyptians, for one example, you can go in deeper into all different kinds of groups of people, but people understand that the Egyptians had a deeper connection to spirit than we experience today, just for example purposes. There's some relation to the pyramids and these ancient structures. There's some relation to that frequency and the stars in the sky. There's some kind of connection there. And how I'm seeing after this video now is that those were buildings, those were antennas that were built now because our crystal trees have been removed from this. The antennas of this reality have been severed. So just as we are consciously being severed from understanding our connection to soul, you can understand that there are hard lines. So we have Wi-Fi connections now with our pineal gland. But what were the hard line connections that were birthed out of this earth plane? Because it's not just the trees. And that's what that video will go into. This is why these armies place their military bases all over the place and just start destroying nature. They plot out this program and parasite off of the life force energy. These trees are basically how I'm seeing it now after watching that video and understanding what organic material is, having a deeper definition and understanding of communication materials, and seeing the earth plane as a living body, including the mountains. This place is a giant communication hub, and we are living as caretakers of this communication hub while this place is being sucked dry by a parasitic destructive intelligence. And since we have disconnected our true evolution within the relationship of this physical reality, the parasites, the virus, has evolved itself to convince us to join into the parasitic destructive program. And we celebrate it with commercials and holidays and all this other stuff. Knowing that there are so many different ways, like just realize how in relation to trees themselves, and seeing trees as living beings and antennas, our relationship to nature, and seeing that the lumber agenda, like that, what happened when they started building all these homes, that was just the reason they used in order to cut all these antennas down on a spiritual space. This is the essence of the American dream in the industrial age. But the spiritual space behind that is to get people vested in this way of life that is ultimately destructive. So you can take it further into seeing yourself as a tree being cut down spiritually, consciously, so they can feast off of the parasitic energy, can feast and live through your body, through your temple. So seeing yourself as a tree and having psychological chainsaws go through your reality. This is what the mainstream is. So these are just one versions of antennas. But when you look at monuments like Mount Everest and these geometric, like you can see, and he goes into that into detail. I don't want to give too much away from the video, but I pretty much already have. But I would still highly recommend watch that video. The answer scientism has for the way this structure is coming out of the earth and the geometry of this is based upon volcanic eruptions. Does this look like some kind of volcanic movement? Would volcanic energy or would it form itself in that sort of geometric structure? You really believe that? And look at how this looks in relation to See this as a tree stump, and how big that tree would be. I see that tree as an antenna. I relate that tree to what they call petrified wood, and see the carbon-based life forms, and now experience the silica-based life forms, and see that we not only could have a connection just from a 56K modem we call, like the redwood forest or anything. But what was the high-speed internet that was severed from like the land, the true cable connections to this reality, the different layers of connections? Because this is how I'm seeing it now. And these pyramids that were built, these ancient structures that were built, this is Mount Shasta. And people feel stuff. What is that feeling? People say, oh yeah, I love Shasta, all this. What is that? What is that you're feeling? What is that you feel when you go to Sedona? What are those connections that you feel to stone, to rocks? What is that energy? The Hopi have their ceremony, their annual dances on one of the three mesas, which are flat and have a very similar look to this. What is this? What are these connections that humans have to these mountains, to nature? Is it just like the tree? Oh yeah, it's a living being. No, well, what are these mountains? These lava rocks are used in sweat lodges. They are considered the ancestors. That's what stone is, the ancestors. So what were the giant stones? What are these giant structures? Because that just doesn't look like it just happened like that. No, something happened to that. So the feelings that we get when we go to these places and we make these connections, and we call them portals and vortices. What is all this stuff? Because they know what it is. The so-called they put their little places here and there. They tap into this energy, but they won't tell you what it's about. And when they keep it very shallow, very shallow. Observe these monuments as living beings. Every time I would drive through Arizona and California, I would feel this. These things are alive. That they're watching me, protecting me, communicating. There's an energy there. Something. And the ancient peoples, our ancestors, understood this. They were connected to this. So just what if these monuments now were taller and activated? And just as the trees are being cut down today, they were cut down to affect a level of consciousness and to also just parasite, just to feed. And all the other stories that I'm not even aware of right now. Those are just the ones that highly resonate with what I'm feeling. Because there's a definite spiritual connection with why this control grid is destroying the rainforest, the indigenous connections, to nature itself by just everything that we consider to be normal within this planned obsolescent idea of reality. And in relation to the Mandela effect, that is another version of our relationship to each other and to the earth plane itself that is being co-opted by the same parasites who claim to be fiddling around with what they call the next human evolutionary step. That is basically preschool humanity at best. What were the Egyptians tapped into? What were the Native Americans tapped into? What are the Australian Aboriginals tapped into? Why are these structures, if this is not a round volcanic core sphere like they say it is, then what is it, and what were those connections? What are these energy places all over the place? Why is this geometry this way? This is from Farscape. The ship that it's a Jim Henson. Yeah, Jim Henson did this television show. The ship, and it's filled with aliens who just go through space. But the ship itself is a living being, like a giant whale. And these so-called aliens live inside of that ship. And this pilot on the bottom right with the kind of UFO shaped head has a relationship with that ship to where basically there's a connection there that is a conscious connection, and they are hurling through space doing all kinds of stuff. But this is highly coded at the same time. But my point being is that the same relationship that we have to the earth plane is no different than the living being relationship that is pumped out all through. Everything is alive. Everything. So there's a purpose, there's a meaning, there's a consciousness there that we've been separated from. And in order to close those gaps subconsciously, we get manipulated by shallow layers of this reality, shallow layers of understanding, in order to just not really answer any of these questions that come up in our dreams and then when we wake up. This is another example of a living being, and this was from Guardians of the Galaxy. They referred to this floating in space giant human or angelic celestial body, which is called Nowhere, where all of these mining companies and people who are wanting to get precious elements go there and suck all of the life out of the leftover remains of a angelic celestial skull. And first time I saw that, I immediately thought of the earth plane and the same thing that's happening here. You can go into the Anunnaki looking for gold and all that stuff too, but it's not just about the precious metals. Everything is precious. The balance itself is precious. So what happened to those trees, the mountains? Not just the metals, the alloys that have been removed. that these artificial kings and queens put on their head to control you. But what is the divine nature of nature itself? And what are those stories there? What are the kings and queens of the tree kingdom and the mountain kingdom, the mountain people, the ancestors? Because on one level, one storyline, the ancient peoples knew about this relationship from the Native Americans to Machu Picchu, Peru, South America, to the pyramids of Giza, to Angkor Wat. They all knew. This is why they built these structures, which today's scientists have no answers for. They don't know how they cut these stones. Laser precision. I've been here. I went to Sacsayhuaman. I think that's how you pronounce it. I went to Machu Picchu. I've seen 30-foot wide laser cuts right out of the side of a mountain. Straight as you can imagine. Rock, stone. How did that happen? Like, what is all this for? What is it used for? Like, what's the geometric connection here to energy and information coding and that relationship to humans? Why was this stuff done the way it is? Is this savagery? Like, are these cuts cut by like savages? What's going on here? Because that's what your university says is happening, has happened. This is Machu Picchu. And all the priests in this place disappeared. The Inca spirit, not that long ago, I think it was like 1550 or something like that, when this was abandoned. They just disappeared out of the blue. Built on the top of a mountain. Why would they go through such there are answers there on why these things are. There's a communication. There's a direct link through the ancestors, these stone mountains, the structures. There was even a rock monster in, they call it a rock monster in Labyrinth. I remember that. Or not Labyrinth, the Never-Ending Story. But these storylines are everywhere. And you feel something when you walk up this mountain, when you're sitting in here, when you see the geometry built in Machu Picchu. This wasn't just like a bunch of dudes people who just showed up and were just like, oh yeah, let's just build this up here. Oh cool. Alright, let's do that. These were highly spiritual people. And there's a reason for this. What was that? What were the ancient Egyptians tapping into when they did this? Think that was built to be a tomb? That's it. That's basic. These are antennas. These are spiritual antennas. Just as the trees are spiritual antennas. Just as the silica trees, the ancient trees, are spiritual antennas. And these antennas have been cut, severed. They cut the hard line to parasite, suck the life out of this experience, to use it for whatever it is that they want to use it for, and simultaneously enslave the people. to suck the life out of you. And you either choose to allow it to happen through ignorance, or you break these spells. And in that ignorance, you pass those spells down to your children. And we're all breaking them as we go. It's not like saying, oh, you're a bad person. No. It's a natural process that is being unraveled as we speak. So you can either choose to constantly distract yourself and look the other way and asking questions about what this stuff actually was. This is Teotihuacan in Mexico. I walked around here. You feel something. This place is alive. That's basically a mountain, that a geometric mountain built by spiritual purposes. Some kind of connection through the earth. That is an antenna. At its most basic observation, see that as a giant tree. Now see that geometry as having a purpose. What is that purpose? Angkor Wat, Cambodia. These are all structures that are built for purposes. Directly locked into the earth plane to create some kind of vortex energy that we can be aware of or not, that we can tap into or disregard. And we are distracted by the Hollywood version to shut down our subconscious question, curiosity, imagination. And the new age versions of understanding these connections are just another shallow layer. And another way to profit off of the parasitic consciousness and shallow layers of reality. As people really start unveiling the depths of this information, and people ain't gonna make money. You can't make money off of that. And people don't want to not make money off of stuff. They want to get, whatever they want to get out of that. That's a trap in itself. These are boxes within the boxes. So instead of just saying, oh yeah, I went here, I feel, oh, it's so beautiful. Really start to tap in now to the ancestors. Now that we can see that these antennas can go, are a lot higher. And the Hopi are still dancing on these mesas right next to the Grand Canyon. And that energy. What was that place? What was happening there? What happened there? What are their stories? What are the Hopi stories of the Grand Canyon? What are the stories of the ancestors? What do you feel when you go to Mount Shasta? What is all this stuff? Oh, it's aliens. Aliens are going into Mount Shasta and going into the center of the earth, and they're connecting with different dimensions and using portals. There's a lot of pieces missing from that story. There's a lot of pieces missing from these stories. So as long as we keep piecing it together and questioning these scientists who give you your reality, they say that's just a volcano, volcanic happenstance. What's all this geometry? It don't look like no regular volcanic eruption. Don't ask any questions. We just need to keep doing what we're doing. distract you so they can continue their military industrial complex, prison industrial complex, and the consciousness industrial complex. Profit off of your separation. Profit off of your lack of understanding, your ignorance, your soul, your genetic codes. What are the genetic codes of the earth plane? There's more here. So I really just wanted to go off on that moment and just share this. Watch this video. There are no forests on Flat Earth Wake Up. Highly recommend. Go check it out. And yeah. If anybody got any more to add to this, please put it in the comment section. Anything else, go ahead and share it. If you like this video, thumbs it up. If you didn't, thumbs it down. Whatever you like. But until next time, I appreciate it. Appreciate you joining me. And from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.